And on this video, we get into the state of the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast on the Laracuente Ledger Network. And as I said in the open, today we are going to be discussing the state of the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals have been a very active team this offseason, so we want to cover mainly the big moves that they've done. But before we get into it, I want to make sure that you know we have a corresponding article over on LaracuenteLedger.com. So make sure you head over to LaracuenteLedger.com to get the full picture about the state of the St. Louis Cardinals. And as always, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as joining us here does a huge service for our channel and continues to help push us up the YouTube algorithm. So make sure you be a subscriber, hit the like button, and comment down below. But let's get into the state of the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the first thing we have to discuss is obviously the big move, the trade for Nolan Arenado. Now, we've covered the trade as it happened here on the Laracuente Ledger Network, so I will make sure that I leave links to that down in the show notes below, as well as up in the YouTube card. But when you look at what Arenado does for the St. Louis Cardinals, he elevates the team on both sides of the ball. So this is a huge move for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, in my video where I discussed 3 possible landing spots for Nolan Arenado, links down in the show notes below, the Cardinals were the favorites as they were the main team in connection to the Colorado Rockies in trading for Arenado. And I said in that video that this move would solidify the Cardinals as, in my opinion, having the best corner infield in Major League Baseball. Having Nolan Arenado across the diamond from Paul Goldschmidt, to me, is a tandem that is rivaling any in the sport. As well as having Nolan Arenado, who, in my opinion, and is my top 10 amongst third basemen right now in Major League Baseball. Again, links to that video down in the show notes below. But when you look at what Nolan does for this team, this is a player who's going to elevate everyone around him. His defense is obviously second to none, and he's going to be able to help Paul DeJong continue to progress as an infielder as well, not having to worry so much about going towards the third base side quite as much. Then offensively, you're going to have a guy who's going to be able to protect and or be protected by Paul Goldschmidt, however the Cardinals decide to set their lineup going into 2021. So this is a huge move by bringing in Nolan Arenado. Now, as we move into the next state of the St. Louis Cardinals, we usually don't talk about the players that they've gotten rid of, traded away, or not re-signed on these lists, as we've had a few of these going into 2021. But when you look at the trade of Dexter Fowler by the St. Louis Cardinals over to the Angels, yes, this was a salary dump, there's no doubt about it, as the Cardinals did save a couple of $1 million by moving him off of their books. But what this move does is it allows the Cardinals to have their young kids play. Harrison Bader, Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson. Now these guys are going to have no impediment in having them play every single day in 2021. This also allows for the Cardinals to have a very easy spot cleared up off the 40-man roster. It's basically an even exchange roster for roster spot when it comes to trading away Dexter Fowler. It clears up the spot for Nolan Arenado to come into the organization and be put on the 40-man roster without having to make a corresponding move and potentially lose a valuable asset and prospects from the organization. Now, the next section here of the state of the St. Louis Cardinals has to deal with re-signing Cardinals legends, and that is Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina. Now, we grouped these guys together because they've been playing together for the majority of their major league careers. When you look at what Wainwright does for the rotation, he actually helps solidify it, and I'll get into the rotation more in a moment. But having a veteran presence like an Adam Wainwright in that rotation can help serve as a mentor, as a guide, and as somebody who can still eat up innings for the St. Louis Cardinals. Bringing back Yadier Molina does essentially the same thing on the position player side for the catching position. But you also have to factor in that Yadi is one of the best catchers, and pitchers love throwing to Yadi. St. Louis pitching staff tends to have an ERA about a whole run less when Yadi is behind the plate as compared to any other catcher who's stepped in for him at any given day off. But I think the biggest factor for Cardinals fans themselves about bringing back Yadi and Wainwright is about a proper send-off, saying goodbye. We believe fans will be allowed back into stadiums in 2021, and this will be a way for the Cardinals and for the fans to have a proper goodbye and a thank you to the careers of Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina. All right, so now let's begin with the state of the rotation. When it comes to the Cardinals rotation, this to me is their weakest spot. Yes, you have Jack Flaherty, who's going to be an absolute monster. Adam Wainwright, as we talked about, he's going to be able to serve as a mentor, but also be able to eat up innings. I think that's going to be a very underrated thing, is how well Wainwright is going to be able to pitch and hold his own going into the 2021 campaign, because there are going to be concerns with this rotation outside of those two players. When you look at their highly valued pitching asset, Dakota Hudson, he's out with Tommy John surgery. So that's not going to be an arm that's capable of taking the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals in 2021. Outside of Wainwright and Flaherty, you're going to have Kwang Hyun Kim, who's going to be able to slide in as that number 3 spot. And beyond that, you're looking at Carlos Martinez and Miles Michaelis. Now, these two guys are going to be very big questions going into the 2021 campaign. We know Michaelis is coming off of an injury-plagued season where he pitched nothing in 2020. So in my opinion, the Cardinals are going to need to go after at least another starter, but more than likely 2 starters, to be able to really hold down the top of that National League Central Division. I do believe that will be a 4-team race, as the Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Brewers, and Chicago Cubs are likely all going to be trying to compete for that spot. Now, the acquisition of Nolan Arenado, in my opinion, clearly makes the Cardinals the favorites in the division, but it's not by a wide margin. Having a solid foundation of starting pitching is really what's going to help solidify the Cardinals and push them continuously forward in that division. As we get into the state of the bullpen for the St. Louis Cardinals, this is where they have a little bit more of a foundation. There's a couple of pieces in that pen that are viable candidates for reliever of the year, but you're also going to have a bounce back opportunity in Andrew Miller. If Miller can get back to the form where, even close to the form where he was in his early days with Cleveland or his days with the Yankees, this is going to be a valuable arm for a postseason contending team. When you look at what they have with guys like Jordan Hicks, Giovanni Gallegos, this is going to be a team and a bullpen that is going to be able to sustain excellence throughout 2021. Now, there are going to be some names in that bullpen that are a little bit questionable, and maybe they could value, and maybe the Cardinals can add a little bit more value in name with a couple of signings from the free agent market. But I do believe that the Cardinals are going to be able to have a solid enough bullpen that they maybe could add to at the deadline. But to me, the biggest question and the biggest need for St. Louis right now is adding at the starting pitching side. When we get into the state of the defense for the St. Louis Cardinals, as I said, Nolan Arenado is a premium defender, and he's not the only one on the Cardinals that is that type of player. Paul DeJong, Paul Goldschmidt, and even Tommy Edman are just the infield help that Nolan Arenado is going to have in terms of plus defenders. So I think the Cardinals are going to be a very solid defensive team, and they're not going to be the team that's not going to make a ton of mental lapses and cause themselves to lose games. So I think this is going to be one of the better defensive teams in all of Major League Baseball. When you look at the state of the offense for the St. Louis Cardinals, again, we've already discussed Nolan Arenado. Paul Goldschmidt is one of the best first basemen in the game. Paul DeJong is going to be a player who's going to have a bounce back year, in my opinion, and get back to the form we saw him have a couple of years ago. I think there's going to be less pressure on the offense by having a guy like Nolan Arenado who can put up 40 home runs a season. And with that, I do believe that the Cardinals are the favorites in the division. I've said it before, I think this is going to be a 4-team race in that division. But having Nolan Arenado on the Cardinals with Paul Goldschmidt, to me, is going to make them the favorites in the division. So as we get into the closing thoughts here on the St. Louis Cardinals and the state of the St. Louis Cardinals, I think, again, Nolan Arenado is a huge acquisition. Bringing back Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina is not just fan service, but also to help this team. I think both players are going to help mentor the next incoming generation of pitchers and catchers for the St. Louis Cardinals. I also believe that the Cardinals are the favorites in this division at this moment in time because of the moves that they've made. But it's not by a very wide margin. And that margin shrinks even more if the Cardinals remain with this current starting pitching rotation. To me, the biggest need for the St. Louis Cardinals is going after another starter or two to be able to sustain the 162-game campaign we have headed in 2021. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Cardinals fans, am I right? Am I on track with the state of the Cardinals? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and we will discuss it further. As we head into the 2021 season, we'll continue to look at the state of each major league franchise and where they're headed in 2021. So make sure you keep it locked in by hitting that subscribe button and that bell to stay notified of every time we drop new content here on the Laracuente Legend Network. And the best way to get the full Laracuente Legend Network experience is by joining us at patreon.com, searching for the Laracuente Legend Network and joining us there. Your support is what's going to allow us to continue bringing content to you each and every single week. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you the next time the latest news, notes, or my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions have to be dropped about the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.